So you are ready to become a successful healer or coach. So I wanted to give you my five biggest factors to actually becoming a successful healer or coach. So to kind of give you that path of what it takes to be able to get there and really produce rave-worthy client results on a consistent basis. So my first one is to make sure that you have done the work to heal your own stuff. Does that mean that you can't also have things that you still need to heal when you're out there doing this work? No. What it means is making sure that you are working towards and healing as much as you can along the way as it comes up. So you've got to be willing, because I'm just telling you, healing work can be super triggering. We tend to bring clients in to our practices that resonate with things that we've gone through as an individual. Okay. And oftentimes that can be extremely triggering if you have not done your own healing. I have seen healers and coaches out there who have given people really problematic advice. That's what I'm going to go with. Problematic advice that is from a place of trigger and from harm. They're reacting not from a whole place where maybe they've integrated some of the things that have happened. None of us get through this life without some traumas. None of us do. We also have stuff to heal. Just the way it is. It's life. And I think it's part of the beautiful part of life, actually, is we get opportunities to heal things along the way. And each time that we do, something really profound shifts. We get an up level, we become more aware, we become more empowered. And that's certainly true as a healer. But one thing to always keep in mind is if you have had difficult things in your life, and you're working with someone who's had something similar, and you start to feel triggered and you start to react from a place where your body is really reacting from a place of flight or fight or fear or freeze or fawn or any of those like real massive stress responses, that is telling you that you've got some healing work to do so that you can be in a place where you can actually help that person heal without triggering your own stress responses that may not actually be particularly helpful for your client. So the next thing that's a critical factor is working on your self-belief. So in certifying practitioners, as I'm now doing in my methodology, one of the biggest things that I have seen, and one of the things I had to work on the most in my own work and my own practice, is my self-belief. Okay. If there is one thing that is going to catch you up and make you stumble as you are becoming a healer or coach, it is not believing that you have the gifts and skills and opportunities that you actually do have in front of you. Now, these self-beliefs, unfortunately, got coded in oftentimes when we were kids. I see it all the time. Healers and coaches and other people in my practitioner trainings now that have gone through some really tough things where the messaging given to them as a child, because they were different, maybe because they were showing signs of having some different abilities and things like that. That messaging oftentimes was to get them to shut down, to be quiet, to not be able to use their voice, to not be able to go out there and say what their beliefs are, right? And because of that, what ends up happening is that you have a hard time then bringing in clients, because every time you go to talk about who you are or what you're doing, this little anxiety anchor of self-doubt and belief just kicks up and it shuts you down. And so when we work on our self-belief and we work on what were the triggers, what were the roots from that, and why that happens. I mean, I can share with you, I had a really hard time for a long time sending out emails because I had a lot of situations where I would send things out or I would voice things in my own life, my own real non-email life, and get things back that were really designed to shut me down, really designed to shut me down. And I was having a real stress response sending things out to my email list. Now, the people on my email list had actually signed up because they were interested in what I do and what I have to say. Nonetheless, I would have this massive anxiety response. So I would go a month, 2 months sometimes without sending out an email because I had not worked on that part of me to figure out why was I having that reaction. I thought at first I was like lazy or it's just procrastination, and it wasn't. It had to do with the kinds of responses I had gotten in my life when I had spoken up and said, hey, this is what I do and this is what I need. Now, I've since healed that, and now I'm sending out emails on a regular basis and I never get negative things back. So once we heal those things, we can really, really start to expand and grow. I couldn't run this YouTube channel if I didn't believe wholeheartedly in myself and in what I do. So I want you to have that belief, self-belief as well. And if you're struggling with it, make sure that you're getting some help on being able to pay attention to where is that coming from and how can you heal it or release it. And there's lots of different ways, modalities. Go with what, seems like best for you. And third, knowing how to disconnect. Ooh, this is a big one. This is a big one. So I have a lot of coaches and therapists who have come to me, and they're coming to me actually for healing. So they're coming to me and they're saying, I'm just completely burned out. I love my work, but I am completely and totally exhausted. I'm totally burned out. I don't know what's wrong with me. I can't get up in the morning. I can't sleep at night. I am anxious as all heck, et cetera, et cetera. So what I found was, and it was happening to me when I first started doing this work myself, what I found is unfortunately, most certifications or courses or programs out there for people to become healers, coaches, therapists don't teach people who are oftentimes, because we're drawn to those fields, who are oftentimes somewhere on the empathic scale, somewhere, whether they're like high level empaths or just very high feeling people, they don't teach them that throughout the day, you've got to make sure that you're actually pulling your energy back after a client, or you're going to stay plugged into them. And that is going to drain you. That is going to cause you to not be able to rest at night because you're literally, if you can imagine that you've like plugged a cord into that, whatever energy that client has going on at the time, you are unconsciously going to be continued to be plugged into it and keep picking it up. Now, we could go into the quantum of this, of like how everything is actually all one and how every particle in the entire universe knows instantly what every other particle in that universe is doing and thinking and saying and blah, blah, blah. Well, maybe not doing, thinking and saying. I don't think they, but whatever's happening to any particle in the entire universe, every particle in the entire universe knows instantly because we are all connected at that level. And so energetically, from a science standpoint, that's why if we're intentionally connecting with a client, which we should be as healers, coaches, therapists, then that's why we might stay, if we're plugged in, our particles are literally reacting to them. Let's just go from like that perspective, right? And so that's an essential skill, is to learn to make sure that you are doing a disconnect practice every time in between your clients. Now, that's something I teach in my certification. It's one of the vital things I teach right up front, really early on, making sure that you know exactly how to do that right off. If it's something you need some help with, go ahead and comment below, and I'll make sure that you get that practice to help you. 4, having a community of others to support you. So for those of you that are out there, healers and coaches and therapists, you probably know that you deal with a lot of stuff on a day-to-day basis that just isn't the norm. You might have friend groups that barely know what you do or don't even believe at all in what you do, okay? For a long time, I really rarely talked about what I do because I had so few people around me that understood it or were really interested in it. So I just didn't say much. I just didn't say much at all about what I do, despite the fact that this is my work and I'm beyond passionate about it. Like every day of my life, I'm thinking about it and doing it. So that happens, and it feels very lonely when it's like that. So one thing that I have to encourage you to do, if you want to become your very best coach and healer, therapist, make sure that you find a community of like-minded people that can support you, because we have good days and we have bad days when in the healing fields. We really do. Some days you're going to have people. I had a whole day of people one time a few years ago that were dealing with very similar thing that is just a really hard one for me. It's just something that I don't understand in the world, and it has to do with abuse. We'll just leave it there. And it was exhausting. And I could talk to my husband about how I was feeling. Thankfully, he's amazing. but I didn't have a lot of other healers or coaches or therapists to be like, hey, this is super overwhelming and I need to talk this out so that I can process this. Now I understand, at least here in Denver, they have therapists on the staff at fire and paramedic stations. Why? Because they're constantly seeing life or death things all the time. As healers and coaches and therapists, we are also dealing with some pretty big difficulties, traumas, really big events in people's lives that they need help healing. And so it's really important that you find a community of other people that is really, really supportive, that genuinely wants for your best, that doesn't have this like stupid competitiveness that sometimes you'll find, well, really in any world, any field, that you're really going to feel loved and supported and understood and heard in that community. Okay. So I found a few good communities. I have a community that I run. So if you're interested in that, I'll make sure I put that down underneath. And I'm always happy to support fellow coaches and healers and therapists as they go in the world. And finally, I had number 5, having a strong methodology to be able to just deliver incredible results. So one thing I see in sometimes with healers and coaches particularly is that they've gotten a bunch of different certifications and they're sort of cobbling them together, which sometimes works and sometimes doesn't work. And it can feel really stressful. I think we were talking about self-belief in like the number 2. I think sometimes some of that self-doubt that will creep in is because you just aren't 100% sure when a client comes in, what's going to work? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? What can you put in front of this person that's going to work? So that's one thing I want to encourage you to do, is make sure that if you have multiple certifications, let's say, that you sit down and take a look at what would be the best path using those certifications or those tools and modalities that you have available to you. What would be the best path that you could take people through that you can produce incredible results every single time, right? Each and every one of you has that, whether it's intuitive things, whether it's actual like modalities you've learned, whether it's other things, right? So putting together a step-by-step program that maybe is unique to you and should be unique to you. If you can do that, that's fantastic. That's, then you can really speak to what you do. Make sure that you have those a modality. Just sit down and say, okay, if I have a 4-week program, let's say 4-week coaching, a 12-week coaching package, what would this look like? I would start them off here, and then we would naturally move to this, and then we naturally move to that. And of course, you're going to have all of the bag of tools available to you, but you'll feel better if you have some sort of a strong path forward, some structure to it. Now, in saying that, if you want a methodology that is going to every single time, you are going to know exactly what your client is dealing with and be able to translate the message behind any client's pain or disease in about a minute, then you want to check out what I'm doing. So I have created what I genuinely believe are it's world-class training. These are some of the best certifications in the world. They are in an area which is not saturated and which has unlimited potential to be able to help heal the world. So you can not only do amazing work and do amazing good in the world, you have an incredible system that you will have that is, you can step by step through it. And I'm telling you, everybody who's come through the certification so far can absolutely translate the message behind somebody's pain and disease in 1 to 3 minutes. And then they have a very specific process to create a very bespoke, individualized program for that client so that you can create incredible rave-worthy results. Most of the people that I work with within the first week are having massive, massive changes in their healing. I have a woman I just worked with about 2 weeks ago, a weekend. She'd been having severe right side arm pain all the way down. And she was getting these cuts in her cheeks. And after translating what was going on to her, one was that she really wanted to fight back at some men in her life. And we worked on that healing in just that first session. And I gave her some of the step-by-step process that was really designed just to her. She came back a week later and said, Tara, my right side pain is gone and the cuts in my cheek are healing. And there was no medical reason. She'd already checked everything for both. There was no medical reason for any of that. And so that's the kind of results, honestly, that I'm already seeing. Even my practitioner students that are in there now that are working and using this all over the world are seeing these results of being able to take this methodology. And what I do is I take your soul gifts, I help you identify them, and then we literally wrap your beautiful soul gifts around the methodology so that you come out of that certification, actually 2 certifications, with your own beautiful programs that just speak to who you are and that are using your gifts. So if you're interested in finding out more about that, you can comment down below and I will get you some info on it. Or if you happen to be watching this and you are a healer that is in need of some healing, I am actually just about to redo my very popular Radical Healing for Healers 4-day masterclass. It's actually a pre-training and 3 days of masterclass where I will actually show you how to translate the message behind any pain or disease that you're dealing with, and then help you to create your own bespoke healing transformation plan to work just for you. Now, I decided to create this particular program because so many of us as healers, we feel like something's wrong with us when we can't heal ourselves. But the truth is that sometimes we just need somebody outside ourselves. So I will take you through step by step my entire methodology so that you can use it for yourself and be able to heal. And the last time I did this, which was about a month and a half ago, we had just incredible results of people being like, whoa, this is exactly what's going on. And this is how I heal it. So I would love to invite you to that. Check the caption underneath this, and you'll be able to jump in there. And again, totally free. I'm just doing this to help the healers of the world heal. So if you loved this video, please like, share, and subscribe. It helps me a ton to know that I'm making good content that is really helping you as a community. If you have suggestions for future videos, please let me know. I love hearing those comments, and I do try to create videos in response to those suggestions. Until the next time, have a beautiful day, and please stay in the flow with all the good things in the world. See you next time.